What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Hulst back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet for me, Florence, what's up?
Yeah, I'm good, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited for this podcast. We've crossed paths multiple times at Sellers Summit down in Fort Lauderdale, and excited to finally bring you onto the show. Talk some business, talk some
Yeah,
life.
me too.
Well, for our listeners who don't go to Sellers Summit and haven't met you yet, who the heck are you and what the heck do you do?
Well, I'm Florence. I'm a Canadian artist and I built an art school so I could finally live my passion of making a full-time living from my art. But that was not my initial career. I was an engineer and I was hating the life. So I was, okay, I got to figure out a way to have a cool business while making art, while making money. And that turns out to be an art school that has digital products and physical products in the form like of an art magazine that people receive at home to learn how to draw with paper, old style.
So you got an art school. It seems like that's a pretty common thing. Like, how do you stand out in the marketplace for that? How do you differentiate?
Yeah, online courses is a huge phenomenon for the past few years, especially after COVID. What makes us different is that we're really passion focused for the hobbyist while having a good time together. So we're not trying to go fast. We're trying to just really spend time and improve living and actually give them confidence. My audience is a little bit older, so they don't want to become professionals. They really just want to have fun, develop a new skill. And I think it's so important to value the effort and the time it takes to learn new skills at the AI era where everything is so easy and spontaneous and you don't do anything and you got like a full song or full artwork, but you didn't do anything. With those people, it's the contrary. It's okay, let's dive into it. Take time to touch the paper, play with the pen, understand how we get good at drawing. And it doesn't matter the time it takes. Let's just follow the process.
Okay. And then uh, is it personality driven? Is it related to you, or do you have a team of content creators? Or, as an art school, I guess a lot of it comes down to the teacher, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I started the business like a brand business. So I was really the face of the business, the content creator who's always in the ad, always promoting, always giving the courses. But at some point, I reached a point where I was like, my God, that's so much work. I need to make sure I have a team behind me that helps me. So right now, I'm having a team about of 10 people. So we're having the tech guys who are setting up the website and all of those things. I have two other teachers who are helping me for everything that is pedagogy or teaching support. So they're going to correct the drawings of the student. They're going to answer the questions. They're going to do the support. We have customer support agents as well. So right now I can really focus on the creation of new courses. And I'm also in the process of making the brand more large, like an art school that is not only about me, but more about the philosophy.
Yeah. So, walk me through the product a little bit more. Do you have on the back end, do you have like a forum software where they get access to the course, they log in, and then you have kind of like, lesson 1 through 10 or whatever, and then they upload their drawings, or like, how does that interaction work from an online perspective?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the tech stack we have. So people will join our courses either from a Facebook ad they see or by being on our mailing list for a while. So I've been always in paid advertising to gather people in my funnel, in my ecosystem. So I built a huge mailing list. And my preferred way to make sales was going live on a webinar and talk about how we can make a good drawing and actually do some exercise with the students while we were live. And at the end, I would pitch our offers. And I have different types of offers. In the beginning, it was only like digital courses. So, hey, this is the link, you can pay. And then they're on board, like on a platform where they will have their videos and they go through it. But I noticed at some point that this part was really dependent on me because I needed to do the live stream. I needed to give the class. I needed to do everything. So I was, okay, how could I bring a new product that is not dependent on me? And that's when I introduced the physical product that is more the e-commerce side of thing. So we introduced a magazine that people can just buy from a sales page. So I don't need to be there. I just need to write a sales page the first time. So they will subscribe to the magazine. They will stay for many months. Most of them stay more than a year because they actually need a certain time to see your progress. So they stay for a while. And these physical products come to your home, this physical product come to their home in their mailbox, and they can open it and just draw in it and have some fun. So it doesn't require interaction, and my team is taking care of this completely. And to say also that this product is very lightweighted, so the inventory is pretty pretty thin. I can keep it in my basement, and someone has access with a key and just do the shipping from our home inventory base.
So that magazine, do you have like 12 different versions, or is it basically the same product that you send every month?
No, we're having about 3 years of content for the magazine. So it's ongoing, so people can progress and actually learn at their own pace.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So have you had someone on there like all 3 years and they're
Yeah,
looking
some
for
people
fresh
are there
content?
since the beginning. So this is why we're still adding more issues because we still have like very loyal followers.
Yeah, I imagine that's got to be kind of a good problem to think about. You know, it's like you got to, I can't imagine that many people are going to go like all the way for 3 years. So it's like at a certain point, you've got to decide you've kind of graduated, right?
Yeah, well, that's why we're having still our online classes. Like the online courses are, of course, more expensive. So the physical product is our entry product, really. It's like the accessible subscription, $29 a month. So it's like it's going in the budget. So everyone can have it. So it's the mass market. Then a certain amount of them, of course, at some point, they're like, okay, maybe I would like to draw more realistically or get better. So let's upgrade in the classes. And those courses are something like $1,300 for a year with live support and that type of thing. So it's a higher level of support, projects that are more in depth, step by step, that allow an actual progress for realism.
Yeah. Now you're bilingual. Is the course in English or is it in French or?
We started in French. We're now having a branch in English that is slowly growing. We're just at the beginning, but it's very promising as well.
Yeah. So your current business breakdown is the physical products, you know, becoming the primary sales product for you guys, or is that still something that you're trying to ramp up?
I'd say it's more than 50% of the business. So the physical product is quite a huge amount. And what I like about this part of the business is I really don't have much to do. So I'm going to have like an editorial meeting with my team. We're like, okay, let's go. This is the team we're going to talk about in the next few months. My chief of operation is fully functional into designing the product. We're having different contractors who are going to write, review, design. And we're still not using AI to write. We're kind of only using it to like correct or frame some things, but we're still having real writers and real graphic editor. And the pictures in the magazine are my real drawings. So they're actually very human. And then so that's 50% of the business. The team is taking care of it. And the other part, I'd say a good 30% of the business is now the classes. And the other 20% varies. It depends on the promotion and what we do. So it's like floating.
Yeah. So let's kind of walk back to that time in your life where, you know, I would imagine, you know, I'm a content creator as well, YouTube channel. I understand like the grind of like always being on the treadmill to create content and never feeling like you can step off. A lot of content creators on YouTube struggle with like burnout at a certain point. Did you always know you wanted to build something like more than your own personality, or kind of walk me through when that spark happened and you wanted to build something bigger than just your own vibe?
Actually had no awareness of the reality of a content creator until I was there. So if I look at the stages in which I've been, the first one was I was like an unhappy employee. I was like going to my work every day, driving in the traffic, routine, same thing every day. I was really like not aligned with who I was. It was not creative. It was repetitive and boring. So I had the appeal to start a business. So it took me many years to actually figure out this business. During that time, I was having like different work contracts because money was going down, money was going up, money was going down. And I was figuring out different business models. I tried during those, I think it was about 7 years, I tried drop shipping. I tried weight loss coaching. I tried selling selling books digitally and physically. Then I became a Comic-Con artist where I would sell my prints in different fairs and markets. So I would travel around with my car and sell. So there were 7 years of exploration where I was trying to become a business owner, but that was not working. And I'd say the problem I had there is that I had no clue of what was marketing or business models. So I was not like applying a principle that would work. I was just trying and guessing. So it took a long while. And then when I finally found this business model, I got into funnels. So funnels is really like, okay, you have a very clear intention where you're going to grab your customer and make them follow a certain path and sell them something. So I learned marketing this way. And it happened to be through live webinars. And my timing was excellent because I just started it maybe a month before COVID. So when COVID started, like I had an audience that was ready to listen, and I could scale immediately with ads by just putting a little bit of budget and have a lot of people. So I would say this first year of business, I was doing everything by myself. So I would be the customer support. I would be the live seller. I would be the teacher. I would be the engineer programming the computer. I would be the admin person trying to figure out how to incorporate my business and all of those things. That was a crazy year where I would be, let's say, burned out and like with my energy because I had no more time. But I was like, my God, it's finally working. It's finally working. So I was able to input the energy to get to a point where the business was relatively stable. And then I was able to start hiring because we had a good cash flow. So this is the second phase. Like hiring was seeing a model in my head where I would not be the bottleneck. And that's where your question comes. How do you actually design that type of business where you're not the bottleneck and not everything goes through you? So I had this beautiful organizational chart with like a lot of roles, and I was in all of those roles. And one by one, I tried to hire for the right people and create an organization where the people coming in had a clear goal. And they were with KPIs and with scorecards. So it was a way for me to really guide the team and to be more autonomous and me to stay on the places that I like. So after this process, which took maybe 2 years to really like stabilize the business and having all of those contractors and internal workers as well. I finally started to have more time for myself and was able to work much less than 40 hours a week, travel, paint, and actually do some content creation. I enjoy the content creation when it's not rushed. So it allowed me to have this brain space by removing all the admin tasks or some operational tasks that was not for me.
Yeah. Let's walk into those like first hires. What were the first employees that you targeted to bring on? And did you start through contractors and then eventually scale up to full-time employees or?
Absolutely. The customer support was the biggest part in the beginning. That was a very repetitive role with clear tasks. It was like a to-do list. You just go through it every day, check the message, answer the comments. So it's very easy to delegate that. You have, of course, you need to have like a good process or answers of what is the actual answer. What are we going to say to the customer? But it's really easy to film yourself, make a loom, or have a document with all the answers. So those were the first person I hired. The first one was at the fall after the COVID. Then I had a second person because I realized people cannot be there 7 day a week. You need to kind of have two people just in case. And this is a role that over the year has a lot of rotation, but it's not hard to find because like pretty much anyone with a little bit of a brain can do the customer support. And we have a very soft audience. Like they're not like the unhappy customer who are complaining. They're really just, oh, I think it's too hard. Can I get a refund, please? And sometimes we're like, oh, would you like to move on to another product? And they're like, okay, I will try this one. So they're really like nice to work with. And most of the time they're happy with the product.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased as well. I love my customers. I swear I've got the best customers in the world, and they're totally understanding. And I think that's one of the advantages of selling to people who, I mean, let's be real. Like you're selling a luxury product. Like people don't have to, as you said earlier, they're not doing this for professional. So it's a total leisure. It's a hobby. So they have a little more understanding and a little more grace because they're not forced into a really tough position. So were these like Filipino customer support agents? Is that where you're hiring, or were they?
It was not. We hired locally. The reason why we were in a French market, so much less people speak in French, and people abroad would not be in the right time zone for us. So customer would not get answer in time, and that of course, it cost a little bit more, but so far we really are happy with the quality of the customer support. As time passed, though, I realized that in the past few years, the market seems to have been changing a little bit for jobs. Like we're going to have very unqualified people who are expecting a very high salary. And we're like, sorry, we can't really do that. So sometimes now we're looking abroad for some positions. And we're also aiding the team with AI when we can. It's mostly about figuring out the right answer because after 6 years of operation, sometimes we have launched so many programs and we're like 2% in a program launched 3 years ago. No one knows about it. AI knows though. So
Yeah.
that's where we help with AI.
Well, it's kind of funny, like listening to you talk. Like in the beginning, you talk about how your product is all about like pen and paper and not doing like artistic artwork through AI. But you're also not I guess, like a cultist about that, where you're preventing yourself from utilizing it in ways that could bring efficiencies to your company that aren't really associated with the product, but more of the operations, is what I'm
I
getting.
love this question because as a business owner, we really have to know how to position ourselves toward AI. There's different things. As an artist, it's you can get really shocked or maybe offended or destroyed to see that a machine can do in 10 seconds something that it took 10 years to learn. So you have to go through that. Okay, once you're like, okay, now's the reality. I have to, I don't know that it's like that and it's going to be like that. What do I want to give to my customer? And transparency and authenticity is very important. So if you're trying to fake people and just to fool them thinking it's a real art but it's an AI, like it's not fair. It's not a real relationship. So just pay respect to your customers and don't try to fool them. So that's for the art part. Obviously, there's a tons of things that are repetitive. And as a business owner, I'm just like, okay, we're losing money on that because it's still a human who's doing all of those things and trying to figure out. And it's not the most efficient way. So we have to see where AI is in use. The other thing is like, what is the perspective for the next few years? Where do you see the business go and the world go? And how I see it, like the human connection is more and more important. When you know it's a real human, they are doing real art or they're really valuing the time they spend about learning a thing, it becomes like inspiring, it becomes a model. You can bring communities together. And as business owner, I think we do have some responsibility in terms of that. Not everyone thinks like that, but I do. So I want to be on the side of the AI where we're actually using the tools to make a better world and not using the tool to make humans miserable.
Yeah, I think it's it's an interesting time, and I not to go into like an AI like philosophical conversation, which seems to happen nowadays. Sometimes you wonder, is like like with social media when it came out, it was so great to be able to connect with your friends that you haven't seen in years, and then it became this like endless scrolling. And I even have I have a thumb cramp, I swear, or some kind of issue with my thumb from myself, too much scrolling. I think there are going to be things like that with AI that we just don't recognize. Of maybe it limits our ability to think critically or to have patience. I think that was something that social media has kind of taken away from us a little bit. So if there's any kind of rebirth into the things that like you're doing, do you feel with the really the explosion of AI that there is a smaller audience and market for people who want to slow down and put pen
Mm.
on paper?
I don't think so. I think it's actually the contrary. People are some kind of rejecting AI. In some audiences, they're not happy with it because they've been fooled. And I think this is the worst feeling. You think it's real, you're all amazed and you're in awe, and then you realize it's fake. And someone is trying to use you to sell something by fooling you. That's the most terrible experience you can have. I hate it. So I think there's an actual movement toward real life stuff. What I see is harder though is advertising because the pace at which you have to create videos and photos for meta ads, for example, like we have to be very productive. And some of our ads, like we just cannot do with AI. For example, graphic design, it's easy. Like it's going to put things together. Like it's really fun to have, like you have an actual drawing, okay, but you would like it to be like on a nice environment. And sometimes my home is a mess. So this is very practical to just create the nice environment. But when it's actually a human talking and it's like, it's my course or it's my magazine or we're the real teacher, like I cannot fake myself. So this, I still have to do it. We have not figured out yet how we're going to go through the amount of videos we need to do to keep up with the market. So I'm exploring and I'm looking at the possibilities while trying to stay authentic.
Yeah, it's real challenging because like, you know, there is like people are going to desire the human element of it, but
Mhm.
you know, as long as something's being filmed, I got a feeling like AI is going to be able to match it completely. Like right now, the voice is off a little bit, you can kind of tell,
Mhm.
but I would imagine in a couple more years, like someone could effectively clone me, my nuances, how I speak. There's certainly enough video footage of me out there
Mhm.
that it wouldn't surprise me that I could be totally mimicked, which is kind of you know. Then we start thinking about free will and like, do we actually have free will or not? But
Mhm.
I kind of want to swing back to like, you know, we talk about automations. You talk about how you finally built a business where you're working less than 40 hours a week. Like, what is the long term vision? Is it to build it in a way that you eventually become, let's say, like a chairman, and there's no, you know, day-to-day execution, or do you always feel like you need to have a piece of yourself inside the day-to-day operations of your business?
I think there's still some part that I can delegate, like in terms of marketing, because I'm the head of marketing, and that's a role that is sometimes stressful. You have to be very resourceful to find new ideas all the time. So this is probably the hardest role to hire for, because the person needs to know the product, needs to know the business, needs to know, like be original and have ideas. Not everyone can have ideas. That's not that easy to find. So this is a role that is probably the last one I really have to hire for. The part of teaching I like, and it's actually very easy. So I want to keep it and stay there. It's not hard. But otherwise, if I needed more teachers, I need a lot of teachers want to teach. So that's the good part. A lot of artists wants to be involved. So my goal for the next few years is to make this business more, well, less dependent of myself again, so I can have more time to work on new projects. I have a book coming that is about freedom. So it's a project that I hold dear because I feel this whole process of building a business was about freedom. It was a very long pursuit and I learned so much on the way.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's like I've built in a similar intent, you know, with the goal is to build a business that works for me rather than me working for the business. And fortunately for me, I have two business partners, and we're aligned in that. I feel like, you know, in your business model, I look at it and it's like, okay, well, if we build, we bring on more teachers, we bring on more marketing people, you know, how many people is that team? And then are you now a people manager? And like, if you're a
Mm,
people manager, I mean, frankly, like that's the thing I hate most. I try to hire people who are self reliant and independent because I
mm,
cannot tolerate management. And I think for me personally, like that's kind of a limitation. Like I know I'm not going to build 100-person organization
mm.
because that's not the type of organization I want to run. And like you talk about like bringing on the team and building out the team. Does that also include someone to manage the team?
I like your comment because it's very true and we don't necessarily see it coming before. So you're like, oh, I'm going to have a team magically taking charge of everything. It's not true. You need a project manager. That could be one of the same person. So right now in the organization, there's like the visionary, myself, the head of marketing, which is also myself, the chief of operation, and the chief tech officer. So those three roles are able to do pretty much anything. And at our size, we're able to do project management in every of those roles. So instead of having an external person or another person in between, I think it can be taken under the umbrella of every of those roles. And usually I'm trying to not be the one who's talking to the other contractors for here and there stuff, because this is too much. And I agree with you, managing people is a very hard job. The way I see it, though, is like things are a process. It's never black or white, and it's never immediate. So it's not you're hiring someone and it's done. Okay, no, you hired someone is the first step. Now you have to teach them and coach them, and it's not like a 1-month process. It's very long, and you have to see that delegation is not something that is immediate. First, you're gonna just do it mostly with the assistance of the other person. Okay, then the other person does the plan, and you do it with them. Okay, then the other person start executing it, and you're just reviewing, and then you let it go. So it's very like in stages, and it's taking time. So the more I see hiring and coaching people in the business like a long process, I get less impatient. I'm also able to learn new skills, new human skills that I didn't have in the beginning, because I was the little tech genius behind the computer. So now I'm not a technical person anymore. I'm like a person who has to have leadership, empathy, take time, be patient, teach. So those are new skills for me. I didn't know how to do that before.
I had a guest on the podcast who made a really strong impression on me. His name's Will Nitz. He runs a business called IQ Bar. And he kind of talked about in building his business, he built like $100 million business and did it effectively with like a handful of employees, maybe like 13 employees or something.
Wow.
And what he had done was similar to what you talked about, where it's like you have these like high level leader type of positions that are really intelligent and competent and have high executive skills. And you're working with these, 3 or 4 people. And these 3 or 4 people, they don't really need management. They need communication. And they need to be in the loop of things, but they're going to be able to solve the problems that, face their department within the company. And I think like that can be, an exhilarating way to build a business where we feel like, if you're building on a team and then you got to deal with like someone calling in sick, or if you got to deal with, somebody's, hitting on someone in the workplace that they shouldn't be hitting on, or someone's like microwaving fish in the microwave, like just kind of all the things that are human that happen, and, like how much of that kind of trickles up to the top, and how well can you insulate yourself? Because I really don't like, I mean, not to sound like a jerk, but I really don't care, like I guess I don't have the bandwidth to be able to solve, people's personal problems, for example. Like I've got enough personal problems that I'm trying to solve myself. So, it's I don't know where I'm going with all this, but
Well, I have a comment with that, which is you have to be aware of your nature. Like some people are not people's person. That's all. And there's a little bit of flexibility. But if you're not in that zone, it's never going to work. And it's fine to admit it. So I think it's okay. It's really, well, actually, when you're building a business, you have to be intentional and clear about what is the life you really want at the end. And if it's managing people, good for you. But if it's not, figure out a way. And there's always a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Is the long-term goal you think about, you talked about building out the team, kind of getting it more self-sufficient. At that point, you could argue that that business would be ready to hand over to somebody else to take and run with. So, selling a business that is self-sufficient is a thing that I think a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be drawn towards. Is that something along your mindsets, and then just like hanging out on the beach in Costa Rica, or like how much freedom do you want?
Wow, I love this question, because what happens when you sell a business is you're giving away your identity to someone else, and you realize you have no more identity. So for a lot of business owners that I know that have sold a business, they feel very empty afterwards. I think it's always good to say, okay, I'm building my business like if I want to sell it in a couple of years. It makes a good business. It's like good business base. But when you're there, or if you actually want to sell, you have to prepare years up front of who else you're going to become after. My business is like 80% of my identity. If I remove my business, who else am I? And you're going to have too much time doing a lot of things. And I experienced it a little bit last summer. I had a lot of time. I've painted all the summer. I've been with friends. I traveled, and just like, what's my mission? Like I'm like not working enough. So you feel that, and it's natural, and we should talk about it before it happens, because it's a preparation. So I know that if I want to sell this business in, let's say, 5 years, I need to build other parts of my life, so when this business is gone, my life is still rich.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. There's a lot of entrepreneurs I'll see that want to sell their business because they hate their business. They'll say, it doesn't do this, or the margins are too low, or it's not consumable products. Well, the reality is, like, you as an owner operator of your business have the ability to change anything within the company. So if you haven't figured out how to solve that problem within your current business, your next business is not going to solve that problem. So it's like almost like you might as well figure out how to solve that problem with your current business rather than thinking about like, oh, this business has problems, I'm going to unload it. I agree with you 100% in the sense that, like, you, in my opinion, an entrepreneur should not sell their business until they know, like, hey, this is the next thing that I really want to do. And this is like what's calling me. This is where my mission is. This is where my energy is going. And then I can be like, all right, I need to remove this distraction, which is my current business. I'll sell it. I'll make what I can from it, and then reallocate that energy and focus to, my next thing.
And I want to mention, you said, like, what's the level of freedom you want to have? The thing with freedom is, like, it's a continuum. So if you don't have enough, you're like, oh, I'm stuck, I'm prisoner. But when you have so much freedom, you're falling like in some kind of interstellar emptiness, and you get back of being prisoner of the void because there's nothing. So having the right amount of responsibility is what makes us happier, I would say. Having absolutely nothing on the schedule, like, you're floating in the universe. Like, it doesn't make sense for a human. I see humans as biological entities. We need some balance, some equilibrium. So you need just enough entertainment, just enough responsibility, just enough challenge. And when it's too much, like, we're falling, like we get in depression, we get anxiety, whatever. But when we stay in this range of balance, yes, we have some hardships, but we're able to manage. I think creating this environment for ourselves is the most major thing you can do. And it's not easy to actually manage it so you don't go too far because we're thinking in terms of black and white, but life is not. So it's really like a dynamic balance. You have to stay around here.
Yeah, and that's we have core values that are freedom, hunger, and trust, and I always kind of like visualize them as a triangle where if you pull too much freedom, then you start to lose trust, and if you have too much hunger, then you lose some of that freedom. So it is like trying to keep that triangle as equilateral as possible, so that it is sustainable. And I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, enjoying life is the answer. That is the whole point of life, is like figuring out how to enjoy the journey.
What is tricky is, like, the form or the shape of freedom evolves so much depending of where you are in your entrepreneurship journey. When you just started, like, you were craving for financial freedom and time freedom because you have none of those possibilities. Most people are maybe just an employee, so it's like a limited salary. Or when they become business owners, like, they have so much work that they don't have time. So they're really craving just basic freedom to breathe, to have enough room to breathe. And having this life balance of, okay, I can sleep enough, I can exercise, I can spend time with family, and I can work, like, it's already a huge challenge and a huge accomplishment. Not anyone got there. But when you get there and you're like, okay, cool, what's my purpose? Where am I trying to go? You're building a business at some point that will make enough money and probably more than you ever need. What are you going to do then? What is the motivation if you don't need money anymore? And you cannot all spend just time with family or at the beach or just having a hobby all day at some point. So this is where you see that freedom becomes sometimes more internal. You have to think about, okay, do I still have, like, mental blocks that are keeping me miserable just because it's in my head? Or, like, what about spirituality? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs reach a stage where they're having enough money and they're like, okay, I need to figure out something bigger, another meaning, because they see that the meaning is not in the little daily grind anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people sign up for your art course? Follow you, reach out to you?
I'll share my account. So I have an account on Instagram and Facebook for the art course. And I have another account for my entrepreneurial journey. So this account for my entrepreneurial journey is flow.founder. It's on Instagram, and I'm going to share
And
some
FLO or FLOW?
FLO. It's my nickname. And I'm going to share tips and tricks about hiring, email marketing, general stuff, and the news about my upcoming book as well.
And then your artwork stuff, what was that?
It's Art and Drawing magazine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Thank you for coming on, Florence. This has been another e-commerce conversations. Cheers. Keep on growing.
Thank you.